welcome back again to my channel. I'm your host, Andrew Mutua, and today we'll just be talking across a number of diverse discussions with my buddy here, Paul Moya. He will tell us more about himself. But welcome to the show. I hope it will be an exciting, interesting show where we will chop up and slice and dice any kind of topic that we'll be going through. So, Paul, welcome.
Thank you, Andrew.
Tell us a little bit about yourself before we go into the meat of this show.
Oh, so I would say, from name Paul Mboya, passionate about technology and communication. I'll call it so. I do business systems analysis, supporting organizations in building their MIS for purposes of managing their information, monitoring their activities, and keeping their records in track. That also comes with the training of the personnel to be able to use these systems that are custom built effectively, and then manage knowledge transfer. You call it knowledge transfer or transitioning. Let me call it so, transitioning from what you'd consider as day-to-day paperwork and normal systems without the technology behind it, then digitizing it and using it as a digital system. So that's basically what I do. There's also something else I handle on the side, which is also a system, kind of personal initiative that is coming up to help people who have lost items like valuable documents to be able to get them back. So that is also something that I handle.
It's interesting you mentioned the aspect of being a business analyst and working with various organizations and helping them transition to probably I'll call it a digital format, if I might put it as such, loosely as such. I'm also an entrepreneur. I run a business here in Rwanda, but we're headquartered in Nairobi, Kenya. We actually came in Rwanda a little over a year ago. And actually our primary work is around digitizing business operations. And then what we do basically is help companies, again, transition from a manual way of doing things to doing things in the digital format, by way of course, information systems, developing, mostly we do process automation, if I may put it as such. We don't build the large management information systems, but we're almost growing into that. Our focus has been sort of filling in the gaps that have been left. So you find many organizations will possibly adopt a financial management system, which would typically manage all the workings of their finance, but you still might find gaps in procurement. You might still find gaps in other functions outside of finance, in HR, and the like. So we come in to either provide a leave management solution, a procurement requisition solution, a travel requisition solution. So wherever we find gaps, as much as most organizations in this day and age have digitized to some level, you still find they're still operating in a very manual form with other processes that have to fill in the gaps. So that's essentially what we do, and mostly we build most of our applications or solutions using Microsoft technologies. Yes. Before I now drag on into another time.
That's good. So we have quite a number of things that are aligning in terms of digitization. because that's what we also look at. If you look at the era that we just crossed into due to COVID-19, it made people be aware of working remotely and the value of quick information while reducing cost of actually getting that information into your system. So many organizations today tend to get into having management information systems that can give them easy access and querying of the information that they always gather over a period of time. So that's where it comes in. Now, before, the management information systems would be more of databases, but now they have an interest of various stakeholders interacting with them and then plugging in other devices like phones or tablets for data collection onto them, therefore making it grow a little bit larger. So some of the things that I've seen, or some of the things that I've experienced in doing this and supporting organizations is that the systems now need to have a life, just the way you'll call the normal work system, having manuals and operation tools. For example, if you look at the HR and handling, recruiting until retirement of staff, there's always something that is put in place for it to manage it. So you realize that even using of systems, it is no longer just a database or an archiving place. It is something that has to live with the organization. So therefore, the operation element of it comes in handy, you know? So you don't just handle it as a place of dumping information, but a living system where you'll need people to hand over, you will need maintenance, you will need assessment and monitoring so that you improve it for the next version, you know? So it is not just a one-off thing. So those are some of the things that I've learned and realized. And through my knowledge and support, that's what I get into the organizations that I work with or I get to work with in terms of supporting them with their MIS.
It's interesting that you've now brought up that aspect of database. And I guess, in a sense, probably what you are referring to is sort of the evolutions of this information system, what they used to be and what they are now.
Exactly.
Particularly in this day and age where you sort of can work anywhere, anytime, with any device. You know, before people were restricted. You know, if you had to do something, you had to go to this building, you know, which is an office. You could only access it typically Monday through to Friday, 8 to 5. Once you're outside that building, you probably couldn't access it. And it's maybe because people, you know, are mostly using desktop machines. We closely evolved into laptops. So, you know, the concept of even, I think the term of carrying work home came with that term. You know, when you go with your laptop, you still continue working even when you're outside the office. But then there was also still a constraint. I think in many ways, you could still access the business applications when you're not in the office. And again, also there was the issue of internet access was also not as prevalent. And even if it was also available, it was not that cost effective as it is now. So the ubiquity of internet, I think this aspect of cloud computing coming on board, it has, in a sense, as you say, I think the term you use was make this application alive. I think they are no longer things that you would come every so often, sit down to input data, but you're almost inputting data, you're feeding data, reading data on it almost on a real-time basis, regardless of, you know, you now don't have the constraint of time, space, geography, and those kind of things. I don't know if I picked up on what you are referring to on sort of the evolution of some of this.
Yes, so it has also looked at evolution. And you know, now as we get into this, we also look at the today and what you'll expect of tomorrow. in terms of interaction with data, there's also something that you'll also have to consider: increasing authenticity of that particular information that you're collecting, reducing errors in the information. So you don't want it to pass into so many hands. You want it to be from the source to the user, the person who needs to access that particular information, to avoid these challenges of having to clean it and then it varying because it has to pass from one hand to the other, as people moderate it. So you want to be able to reduce that. So the technology is kind of improving onto it. Verification, validation, and I would call it as timeliness. You don't want it to take 3 months for you to get information getting to you and analyzed. So when you get it into a system, as soon as it is dropped in, the system can also be able to help you do the analysis, or do basic analysis, and then you can be able to do evaluation over time. With other independent systems that are now better at evaluation, but the monitoring bit of it, you can be able to get as many points of monitoring as possible when you have a system, and in a much easier way. And when it is spread to many stakeholders, then you get to have information exactly from the source without moderation in it.
Yeah, that's true. That aspect of moderation because now people want sort of instant information. So you want to cut down that time that used to be taken validating that information and before you publish it. I mean, we have even tools like AI, machine learning that are even improving in terms of if it's either an analysis of a piece of data. Before you probably had people had to crunch numbers and produce a report. And usually that whole process of sourcing data from various multiple sources and correlating it, analyzing it, and eventually producing a report used to take long. But now with AI, machine learning, all these tools have made that work much, much more easier. And you can almost get, if it's reports on the fly. Even talk of maybe, I don't know if you've heard of this term of, is it citizen development or what's the term? I mean, there are now tools that are called like no code solutions. It's sort of tools that can now be used by a layman person. It doesn't need to be someone who has a computer science degree or software engineering degree. They have now been able to remove all those elements related to coding, that whole effort, and provided either wizards or interfaces that the layman can work with to develop a simple application. You've heard of no-code solutions that have come into play, and the like.
Yeah, true. Because as organizations are implementing their activities or their programs, they've always want to get the beneficiaries and the wider community to make contribution into what they're doing. Contribute through monitoring, give feedback to those particular programs, rather than wait for a small team to give their views on how the programs are performing. So you'll find there's need for many people to make contribution in terms of progress of the programs. So that's why you find these systems coming in handy. And also the stakeholders engagement. So you see, when we had the nature of programs monitoring before, or data collection, it would always be having specific people going out to get this information. But at the time they go out to get the information, you would not be very sure on what moderation would be done on that particular information that you're getting to office. So the desire to get it from the source comes in strongly, and improvement in technology is making it much easier for the persons or the teams that need this information. So instead of waiting for one person to get it and having the fear of the information being moderated or being watered down in some instances, getting it straight from one point to the other through technology makes it much more cleaner, and I think much more cost effective, because you don't have to go through getting printing of paper, doing the transport, but that can now be done locally again through technology. And with coming in of things like smartphone, it even makes access to information much easier, and even delivering information is much easier, with assurance that it is from the exact point that you need that information to come from. Yeah.
Definitely. I think technology-wise, we do live in some very exciting times. I mean, just think about it. I'm coming at you from Kigali, Rwanda. I am a Kenyan, and proudly so. And Paul, who is also a Kenyan, we are now connecting on a live connection here from, I believe you're in Kampala, Uganda.
Yeah, I'm in Kampala.
There for how many years now?
Over 10 years. Over 10 years. Came in, did my studies, and then after studies, did some bit of work, consultancy here and there as an individual here. Yes.